I'm Bob Burrell, and the title of this is Right Now? Right Now? Yes, that's the title, Right Now. And sometimes God wants you to do something and He wants you to do it right now. Now, interestingly enough, I was originally going to make a video today and I was going to talk about spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare. I spent several days preparing a video. I didn't record the video, but I was writing stuff down. I was thinking about it. I was preparing to make a video in which I was going to talk about spiritual warfare. And this morning I was all charged up to make a video about spiritual warfare, but I got a check in my spirit. And somehow God was telling me not to do the video about spiritual warfare. So I thought, well, fine. But then I thought, well, if I don't do a video about spiritual warfare, what will I make a video about? And I got to thinking, and a lot of us have been going through what I'm going through, and that is waiting, praying and waiting and praying and waiting. How many of you are praying for something and waiting for something? And you've been praying and waiting for the longest time. And there are things I've been praying for and waiting for over 10 years, earnestly praying and waiting. And sometimes I get very frustrated with it. And I know a lot of you go through that. But listen, Abraham waited 25 years. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac. Isaac was promised to him, but he waited 25 years. And a lot of people in the Bible waited a long time. Well, I thought that was what I was going to talk about. Guess what? I got a check in my spirit that wasn't what I was supposed to talk about. And you may think the hardest thing is all that waiting. Do you know the hardest thing may be if God would have dumped something in your lap immediately, and you have to immediately act on it, not wait anytime, just immediately act on it. And you might think, I would love it. I would love God to just dump something on me and I could just immediately act on it. Would you really? Because you might not. Now, I have a friend, I'm not going to give you his real name. I'm going to call him James. That's not his real name. He's in my age group, and he and his wife live in an apartment, but it's kind of a distance. He lives kind of a distance from where he works, and also kind of a distance from where they go to church. And some time ago, a few months ago, they decided they would really like to live a lot closer to where he works and a lot closer to where they go to church. They began applying for senior citizen housing in different communities. They applied in a bunch of communities. There was one community they particularly were hoping for because it's real close to where they go to church and where he works. Well, suddenly, and I mean suddenly, just a few days ago, he was contacted by the senior citizen housing in that community where they most really wanted to move to, and told that they had an apartment for them, but they had to act really, really fast, like within a day or two. They had to give them an answer within like a day or two, yes or no. This just came up right out of the blue. And you know what life is like. You got a million things you're working on, a million things going on, and in every area of your life, and all of a sudden this is just thrown in your lap. He thought he might wait for months and months and even years for the senior housing. Suddenly it's dumped right in his lap. And in fact, it was the particular community they were hoping they'd get. But it was actually very stressful for them. And they just didn't know what to do. And they ended up saying yes. But among the things they struggled with is they said, boy, we've had a great relationship with our landlord, and we wanted to give him ample notice. And is this right that we're just going to jump and tell him we're moving and so forth? It may not be fair to him. So it was a tough decision. And it reminded me of something in my own life from many, many years ago. And this is what I told him about. Is many, many, many years ago when I was planning to go to Bible college. And a lot of you don't know this, but I went to college before I went to Bible college. I went to Stonehill College in Massachusetts. And this is a long story, which I could never tell on this video. It would take me 12 videos. But anyway, of how I got called to the ministry and how I decided to go to Bible college and so forth. And I was in the process of applying, and over the fall of 1976, I was in the process of applying to Central Bible College. And, it involved sending transcripts from my high school and getting recommendations from various people and all sorts of things that you had to do to apply to Bible college. And I went through this whole process. And what I was thinking in terms of in the fall of 1976, I was thinking that when does school start? Be it elementary school, high school, college, when does it start? Well, usually right around Labor Day. Now, a little before Labor Day. In those days, it was a little after Labor Day. So I was picturing, even if I got accepted to Central Bible College, let's just say in December of 76 or January of 77, I was just picturing that I would be entering Central Bible College and starting there in the fall of 1977. This is how I was planning and everything. Well, I got a phone call on the first Tuesday of January of 1977. I got a phone call from the registrar of Central Bible College, Brother Drake, and he asked me, can you come down here by Friday? And I was like, well, what do you mean, can I come down there by Friday? Aren't I starting school in September? And he said, no, you're starting right now. In fact, school has already started. You'll be a few days late. You'll have to be catching up. But why don't you get down here for Friday and then you can, start your classes late and be catching up. Well, my head was spinning. And I felt just like my friend James, that all of a sudden this was thrown in my lap. And everything in me wanted to tell him, no, this is too fast. I mean, and I don't have space again to tell you. You might say, well, what did you do about money? And what did you do about flying down there? What did you do about getting all your stuff down there? It's too long. It would take me 12 videos again. But let's put it this way. It all fell into place. I told him yes. And I had never been to Central Bible College. I had never been to Springfield, Missouri. Well, my daughter Amy went to Evangel. What a difference. We visited the city of Springfield ahead of time. We visited the school ahead of time. Whole different ballgame. For me, you talk about just being thrown into a situation. I was just thrown into it. And listen, I'm a planner. I am a compulsive planner, and I like to do things very slowly, very methodically. I'm not one to just up and do something out of the blue. But I had to, and I did it, and it worked out. I had a situation like that about 5 years ago. In fact, if you were to see my car, I call it my Lieutenant Columbo car. No, it's not a Peugeot convertible, but it's a Toyota sedan, but it's very old. It's a 2001. It looks horrible. It looks horrible, but it runs pretty good. And 5 years ago, in fact, I had a Toyota the same year, the same color previously, that the engine blew on it. So I had to get rid of that car, and I went for a few weeks with no car. And I had very little funds 5 years ago, and it's a long story. But I know a guy who has a very good friend who has a used car dealership. And he said, Bob, I talked to this guy, and he said he has right now an older Toyota Corolla. He said, it's nothing to look at. He said, honestly, it looks terrible, but it's mechanically pretty good. And he said, I would sell it to somebody who came walking in off the street for $1,500. But if your friend wants it as a favor, I'll just sell it to him for $800. Well, we went and I looked at, and I took one look at it, and I said to myself, I don't want that car. It looks horrible. It looks like a piece of junk. But as we tested it and drove it around, it really sounded good. It ran good. It looked, the car I had before, and it was the same make, the same model, the same year, but the car I had before looked much better, although the engine was blown. This one looked horrible, and I had to make a decision again instantly. And I said, yes, I would take the car. Listen, sometimes waiting is a lot easier. And I know God works very differently with different people and in different situations. There's that scripture in Ecclesiastes 3, a time for this and a time for that. And that is so true. And listen, sometimes God will have you wait for something for 25 years, like Abraham for Isaac. Sometimes God will have you wait for something for 40 years, like Moses to deliver the people. Sometimes God will have you wait for something for 13 years, like Joseph, when he was a slave and a prisoner. But ultimately, his dreams in his life were achieved way beyond what he would ever have imagined. And so, yes, sometimes you have to wait. But sometimes I believe I'm making this for someone or for some people, that you're watching this, and in the very near future, God is just going to throw something right into your lap. And it's something that you would normally say no to, but he wants you to say yes. Did you catch that? Or maybe he has thrown something into your lap and you want to say no to it, but God is saying, say yes. Sometimes that's harder than waiting. In the case of the car I have right now, I'm glad I said yes. In the case of Central Bible College, I'm very glad I said yes. In the case of my friend James, who suddenly had that apartment thrown at him, he's glad he suddenly said yes. And listen, another thing that it's most important to say yes to is 2 Corinthians 6:2. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. If you're not sure where you stand with Jesus, make sure today. This has gone very long, so I'm going to end. But listen, if somehow this speaks to you and this helps you, let me know. I'd love to know. God bless you.